Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm talking today about anxiety upon waking. It's something that they've probably struggled with for years. Nobody likes waking up and immediately feeling anxious, immediately having anxious thoughts. And it just feels like it's a never-ending horror when that's happening. So I'm here as a therapist with 25 years experience to shed some light on the sorts of things that my clients have discussed with me over the years about these things, the sorts of studies that I've done, the information that I have, and giving you a few steers really, if I can, to see what might be going on and how to actually track this back. So anxiety upon waking, what causes it? How can you start to fix it? Those are the questions. So yes, it's really common. It's demoralizing. As I said, it's that old, oh, not this again. And it's really exhausting. It often makes people question whether they've slept properly and to presume that they haven't. And the general tiredness of anxiety can very much make that a problem. It feels like you've never got enough energy. So I'm going to link to another video of mine about sleep, which might help you. So please do check that out if you want to. But bear in mind that you're not alone with this. People get really upset with this. They're thinking, oh, not this again. It's just horrible. So if you were to speak to a CBT therapist about anxiety and specifically to let them know that you struggle terribly with feeling anxious from what seems like the moment that you wake up, they are going to want to explore that with you. They're going to want to track that with you. They're going to want to know, when are there any exceptions to this? When was the last time that you woke up and didn't notice this anxiety? Is this something that happens all the time? What are the patterns? And obviously, what are the triggers? CBT therapists love looking for the moments which starts before the difficult moment in question. It's likely that you will, with the help of a therapist, be able to identify this. And I can suggest that you can try to do this on your own as well if you don't have a therapist to help you. Pay attention to it, notice it. Next time you wake up and you're feeling anxious in the morning, instead of going down that route that you normally do, the road of, oh, not this again. Oh my goodness, I'm anxious again for no reason. Then you start to tell yourself a story that you're anxious for no reason. And that's very unhelpful and may not be true. So what you need to do instead is go, okay, when did I first notice this anxiety? Was it the absolute moment that I woke up? Was there something happening before that? Now, often there will be something before that. You may have had a difficult day the day before, a difficult week the week before, or it might just be accumulation of weeks and weeks and weeks of difficulty. So there often will be those precipitating factors that the therapists like to look for, but there may not be very obviously. And what might be the main precipitating factor is as you wake up, you remember something really difficult that you've got to do today, or really difficult that you did yesterday, but you're not aware that you've remembered that. So from your point of view, it feels like you've woken up and, oh my goodness, I feel so anxious again, and the day hasn't even started, and what's it going to bring? And now I feel terrible, and the day's going to get terrible. It's going to be even worse than yesterday. And it's a massive vicious cycle. It's a huge downward spiral. That's what we want to intervene and stop. So it would really benefit you from taking the time and the trouble to look much more closely at these moments, because that's what a therapist would do with you. They would absolutely want to investigate, a bit like a detective. They're looking for all sorts of things that are going on. You probably will find those triggers from the day before or the week before. But if you don't, if you can't even find triggers from the very early thoughts first thing that morning, because generalized anxiety can get like that it's so free-flowing that it feels like it's never going away and there are no clear triggers. Well, that's where we want to look even more closely at your thoughts. Well, I suppose that things have changed. I mean, up until last year, it was kind of common knowledge that most people had on average 60,000 thoughts a day, so between 50 and 70,000. And that has been reduced down to like 10% of that. It's been reduced down to about 6,000. Now that was done in a study last year when this bunch of psychologists were watching clients watching films. So they were looking for the beginning and the end, movies, if you're in the States, looking at the beginning and the end of the thought. They were specifically looking for those delineations between each thought starting and ending. And it's from that they come up with this idea that it was 6,000 per day. I'm not so sure, because if it's 6,000 a day, that means it's only about 4 per minute. And I know for a fact that I have way more than 4 thoughts per minute. I probably have that per second easily. That's just my idea of it all. So I'm more inclined to go with the old style, not 6,000, 60. So if you think about it, in a way, it doesn't matter. Pick whichever number you like, whichever one you trust. 6,000, 60,000. Regardless, that's a lot of thoughts happening for you. So the chances are that as you are coming out of that sleep, coming into your waking life, the brain wave is changing, theta, delta, it's going up into beta, beta, and it gets into a point where it's really active. But during all of that time, there's so much potential, there's so many different thoughts happening. And besides, this study didn't study people's thoughts when they were coming out of a waking or sleeping state. It studied people watching movies or films. So I think there's, you know, a lot of argument to be had about this analysis. That's just my opinion. What I'm trying to say here is that you've had a lot of thoughts when you're waking up. So the chances are that somebody's thoughts are really unhealthy. So your first step is to identify them. What are they? And once you've identified them, you're in a position to look at them more closely. And that might need you to do a bit more study. It might need you to watch videos such as this. It might need you to talk to a therapist. It might need you to devote yourself a little bit, read some self-help books. But it's really important to notice what thoughts you're having first thing in the morning when you wake up with anxiety, because the chances are you're having unhelpful thoughts. And think about it. If you're having an unhelpful thought such as, oh no, not this again, you're probably triggering that fight-flight response. Now, I speak about this in most of my videos because it's so important. Everyone's heard of it, but most people don't put it into practice. They don't look at it, study it, and figure out how it affects them on a daily basis. But if you're having a thought which is something like, oh no, not another day, your body's immediately going to go, oh my goodness, you need extra help. This sounds quite threatening. Let's get some adrenaline going. Let's get you ready to fight this battle. And there is no battle. The only battle that ensues is the battle of you going, why is my body so aroused and stressed and it feels so horrible and I've got such anxiety in my body now? It's probably because of your thoughts. Thoughts are not facts, they are thoughts. And that's one of the main lessons that you'll learn if you do CBT with a therapist or through reading books about CBT. So what do we need to take away from this? The idea that even though it's very common to experience anxiety on waking, it's also very likely to be something that can be stopped, usually with a bit of help, self-help or help from another, whichever. You can do it with either. You're not necessarily needing to see a therapist. I'm not here to promote my therapy services, for example. I'm already completely booked up. But you will need to take this problem a little bit more seriously than you are, in as much as you are having it and assuming that it's here for good and this is your day and this is how it always is. So you're likely to lurch from anxiety to depression. Far better to start a bit of a diary going up. Notice what happens when you first wake up. Log it. Want to know what happens Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you notice any of this stuff, put it in the comments and I'll get back to you. What's going on for you in your thoughts? Let's see if you can notice thoughts that you haven't noticed before. Because it's very likely that even though anxiety is a very physical experience, it's the thoughts that are driving it. Potentially worry thoughts about what's to come in the day, or negative depressive thoughts about what was going on yesterday. They're enough to drive anxiety first thing on waking. So let's not assume it's just a thing that you're dealing with and have to put up with. Let's assume it's something that can be addressed if you pay some close attention to the content of what's going on. So that's my best advice for you today. I hope that was helpful. Do check out my videos on sleep, and I've got other videos on anxiety as well. And I really hope it's helpful, and do leave me a comment in the comment box below. Nice to speak to you again. Take care. Bye.